Fiancé's mounting secret debts and abandoned children weigh on our future together, and I'm almost ready to walk away. We've been dating for 5 years, ever since we met. He works at a call center and I'm a postal worker. We make a moderate income, and the wedding is tentatively in April. Small, courthouse wedding with a tasteful reception afterwards. 1 year into our relationship he got a notice for paternity from the state he used to live in, for a 3-year-old boy, so clearly this happened way before I met him. He thought it was ridiculous, but took the ordered DNA test. Turns out, he is the father. Insert Maury audience catcalling here. The mother was apparently mentally unwell, and it turned out the boy was in custody of the grandparents. They offered to adopt the boy if my fiancé gave up all his paternal rights. He jumped at the offer. They pulled some strings. I've heard it's supposed to be hard, but we literally flew down to his old state. On the date they told him to sign some papers in front of a judge, and that was that. I was personally ambivalent about the thing. It seemed like he just gave up all rights to his son without a care. But in the end, it's his business, not mine. I told myself I would be supportive stepmother if the boy ever came to him for help/answers when he was older. There was some messy legal business about arrears child support, because the mother apparently was on welfare for years, and the state wants repayment from fiancé. I don't know much about it, because he refuses to share. Only that it's around $20,000. For 3 years. Damn. A couple years go by, I take fiancé to the DMV to renew his license because it's way past expired and he won't do it. Lo and behold, it's suspended. Why? Past due child support judgment for another child. A 12-year-old girl. $30,000. Fiancé is literally sick. And I mean he threw up all night. Worse, in order to get his license suspended he had to contact child support department in his old state and give them all his current contact info, where he works, where he lives. Soon enough, a notice comes through HR, he's going to be garnished 25% of his after-tax pay because of the child support judgment. Reddit, he just shut down after that, stonewalls any conversation regarding the issue at all. I took up more of the bills, but now we're both struggling. We have had to move into a smaller, crappier apartment using my credit alone because his has a big fat judgment on it. He had to refinance his almost paid off car because he couldn't afford the high payments. There's some kind of hearing coming up. I don't know what it's about because he flatly refuses to tell me. I think maybe it's to adjust the payments based on his current income, which has grown due a promotion. Either way, he hasn't bought plane tickets, or rather, hasn't asked me for the money because he can't afford them. I think he's not going. It'll be an automatic judgment against him. Here's the thing, he could request a DNA test for the girl. He hasn't, though he's told me he's certain he's not the father. He could hire an attorney, I've offered to front the cost, but he has 1,000 excuses. He'd have to get one in his other state, they'd gouge him because he wasn't there, he doesn't have the time, excuse. The hearing is in 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on and he's so passive about it that I'm worried. So, I opened up an official looking notice he received a few months back, but never bothered to open. There's a third child. This one is a brother of the girl. Maybe the hearing is actually about him? God damn it. I just don't know. He has actually left the house for a long walk when I questioned him a few weeks back. I am not a nagging person. Asking him to deal with his bullshit is uncomfortable for me, too. If I have to confront him with an ultimatum, we've reached the point of no return. But I'm almost there. So here's the deal. I love my fiancé. He's $50,000, for the first boy and girl, in debt that will haunt him for the foreseeable future. He won't do anything about it, just sticks his head in the sand and hopes it goes away. Maybe he's depressed? He acts normal, as if none of this is happening. There might be more on the way, with the third child. If I stay with him, I'll never be able to buy a house. I will have to make all major purchases on my credit alone, we can never combine income. He has abandoned 3 children. I don't know the full stories of the relationship between him and the mothers, other than it was painful and full of lies. One is his biological child for sure. The other 2 are a question, but they may as well be in the eyes of the state. He doesn't care about them, other than the biweekly garnishment on his paycheck. As far as I understand, he's never asked about them once. I had a pregnancy scare last month. Well, actually I found out I had been pregnant via miscarriage. No condolences needed, please, I didn't tell him. It's done. But the first thought in my head after I realized, what came out, was my child would have been 4th in line for any support if things went south. Who says he wouldn't abandon me, too? We do plan on having children eventually. My heart loves this guy. My head says I'll be throwing away my financial future if I stick with him. Update 1. So I was in a mood when he got home tonight. I showed my fiancé, who I'm now calling Johnny Appleseed, thanks to a previous commenter, the letter I opened about the third child. Luckily, he didn't get all huffy about me opening his mail because I was not in the mood. Johnny's face just fell and he said it was impossible for him to be the father of the third child. He didn't know about it, not having opened his child support mail over the last few months, that the mother of the 12-year-old had won child support judgment against him for the girl, and now was clearly looking for more. I told him I thought that was BS and I wanted the truth now, that I'd been looking through his old state's law and the courts can't have ruled him the father of the 12-year-old without evidence. He pulled his usual stonewall stuff, said it didn't matter, because there was a judgment against him, he was screwed for life. He actually started to cry. I kept on him. Finally he told me the truth. He and the baby mama were in love since they were teenagers, but it was a on and off relationship. She was drama. She got pregnant and he was there for her, but right before the baby was born she told him he wasn't the father. He was stubborn and proud, and still signed the birth certificate. But he left her soon after at her request, and didn't have any contact. Why didn't he get a DNA test? It was expensive and his heart was broken. By the end of this, he was crying. I started crying too, and I told him I can't marry him right now with all this going on. OMG, did he go instantly from sorrowful to pissed. He kept asking me how I could do this, that I knew about the child support going in, that he'd always been honest with me. No, he'd said nothing, or insinuated she put his name on the birth certificate, not the same as honesty. That he knew baby mama was trying yet again to ruin his life. The judgment was already in, there was nothing he could do because the courts always ruled in favor of the mother. There was no point in trying. This was all her fault for trying to ruin his life, and by taking her side over him I was letting her. Reddit, I'd like to say I threw in some good zingers. The fact is, when things get heated my brain stalls out. I said some things about how he was handling the situation, keeping me locked out of what was going on with the upcoming hearing, that if this kept blowing this off he could go to jail, but my delivery sounded kinda lame even to me. It's never like how I practice in my head or can type out here, you know? Then he started asking me if this was about a male coworker I had once given a ride home, like 3 months ago, if I had an affair with him. WTF? No. I took off the ring, his grandmother's, and told him to take it. That he needed to move out tonight, stay with someone else, and give me some space. The wedding was off, and I needed a few days to consider the rest of the relationship. He kept asking me why, like he couldn't believe I was breaking off the wedding because of a little old thing like $50K in debt, 3 surprise children, and a complete shutdown of the subject. Then he called me shallow, that money means more to me than love. It went on, but I'm already sick of reliving this. He does swear there is no possibility of any more surprise children. Period. He packed a duffel full of clothes and left, having convinced himself that I was either cheating on him or shallow and money hungry. So I spent the evening rereading comments, I've done the right thing, right? And browsing for rent sites. The lease is in my name only because of the judgments on his credit report. This is what I've become, lying to landlords because of my deadbeat fiancé. He probably has some sort of resident rights anyway. Meh. At least he's out of the apartment for now. I texted him a long message an hour ago, Johnny, before we join our lives together, I need to know you can handle your responsibilities like an adult. Go to the hearing. I will help you with a lawyer, with a plane ticket. Whatever, if you treat me like a partner, maybe we can rebuild our relationship. I love you. He hasn't answered. I hope he listens to reason once he cools down. He has so many good qualities, I had to share the very worst in my post to you all. He would be an excellent father if he wanted visitation, and I am willing to put in the work to sort this out and move forward with these kids if he is. He's convinced himself he's screwed for life, and I think it's paralyzed him. It's a terrifying place to be, I know. Basically everyone wanted me to kick him to the curb, but I'm hoping this break is enough of a come to Jesus moment for him to prove he's not a deadbeat. Basically, if he wants to fight for this relationship, he has to go to the hearing and handle his business. Get on a payment plan, and keep on it. Then relationship counseling. Lots and lots of relationship counseling. Then, we'll see? I still may break up permanently, but at least he'll have sorted out a thing or two. Maybe I'm just holding on to hope. Update 2. After I called off the wedding and returned his grandmother's engagement ring, he packed a duffel full of his clothes and left. It's been about a month, and I haven't heard a peep from him. I changed the locks on the apartment, but he hasn't been back for his stuff anyway. He blocked me on Facebook, and when I gave in and tried to give him a call a week later, he'd changed his phone number too. I heard he was staying at his best bro's house, courtesy of bro's girlfriend. Trust me, I went through all the stages of grief, denial, anger, acceptance, etc., and I finally accepted he wasn't coming back. I thought maybe he'd gone back to his home state to be with one of the baby mamas, but his car was parked in the parking lot at his work. I may have drove past once or twice. The hearing was scheduled for early this week. Finally, tonight, I plucked up my courage and went to the best bro's house to confront him. The least he could do is get his crap out of my apartment, right? I grabbed up his many unopened child support notices, and a picture of boy number 1 he left on his dresser. It's the only picture of the 3 kids that he has, and he left it behind. Best bro answered the door, and what followed was just about the most awkward conversation ever. I can't remember the conversation verbatim, but I asked where ex-fiancé was, and best bro said he wasn't there. He was being all evasive, so I asked if he went to the hearing or not. Best bro looked confused. What hearing? I told him the child support hearing for his 3 kids. Best bro looked super confused, like I was crazy. Then he asked if I was seeing anyone else, other than ex-fiancé. Of course I wasn't. I gave best bro a very abbreviated version. Kicked ex-fiancé out BC. He was ignoring his child support from his baby mamas. He had a hearing earlier this week. I was getting loud because I'd been bottling this up, and best bro's girlfriend came out to see what was going on. She's the one who told me, her exact words, "Your man lost his damn mind." The weekend after I kicked him out, he went out to a bar with best bro for some good old girl bashing. He met up with some 22-year-old bartender, and hooked up. Reddit, he married her last weekend. Drove up to Reno, we're a couple hours from the Nevada border, and did the whole Chapel of Love thing. Best bro and his girlfriend were the witnesses. They hadn't really supported his decision, but he had them convinced I was a cheating whore, and he was so heartbroken. Plus, best bro's girlfriend implied later that he'd overstayed his welcome by crashing at their house for most of a month. I was shocked and pissed and wanted to cry because I sorta got the vibe that best bro still didn't believe I wasn't cheating. So I grabbed the court documents from my car and gave them to him to pass along to my ex. I doubt they'll open them up, but the fact they're from his old state county's child support division should be good evidence. I don't know why I should care about their opinion. Neither one of them called me during this. I thought I was their friend, too. But they believed him. Now I'm back home, surrounded by his crap, and trying to sort out my feelings. I feel like I've just watched someone blow through all the bridges out warning signs and drive off a cliff. I told my ex I'd help him get a lawyer for the hearing, help him with a plane ticket. Instead of taking care of his business, he went and married some chick he'd known for like 2.5 weeks at most? I think. I'm not in the mood to drag out a calendar. Let's be generous and call it 3 weeks. I should feel bad for the girl, his new wife, what the fuck, for what she's just gotten into, but she must either be a real piece of work herself or just an idiot who marries someone they've known for that short of time. So basically, instead of going to his child support hearing, he was moving in with his new wifey, and probably doing what newly married people do. I hope they're happy together. Ha ha ha. Of course I don't. I guess my next stop is the legal advice subreddit to figure out what to do with his stuff. He might have a contempt of court warrant out for him for skipping the hearing, so I doubt he'll sue me if I toss it all, but I do want to cover my butt. I know I need to ask a question, so here it is. What in the world was he thinking? Out of all the options he had to him, he picked the very worst. What was she thinking? I loved, the man, but even I can admit he's not classically good looking. He had nothing to offer but a low-paying job, and being practically homeless. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened. I guess I should start with the practical stuff. I finally got rid of all his things. After consulting with our /legal advice, I documented everything, took photos, sent him a certified letter to his workplace, which came back unclaimed, and then donated most of it to Goodwill. I kept a box of sentimental items and family photos in case he ever comes to his senses, but I'm not holding my breath. About 2 months after my last update, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the new wife. Let's call her Tiffany. She was crying and asking if Johnny had ever mentioned anything about kids from previous relationships. Apparently, she'd found some of the child support notices he'd left behind at Best Bro's place. I felt a weird mix of vindication and pity. I told her everything, the 3 kids, the $50K plus in arrears, the skipped hearing, all of it. She kept saying we've only been married for 3 months, like that somehow made it less real. I asked her why she married someone she barely knew, and she said they had this incredible connection and that Johnny had told her I was controlling and abusive. Classic. She also mentioned they were expecting a baby. Kid number 4. I wished her luck and hung up. A week later, I ran into Best Bro's girlfriend at the grocery store. She apologized for not believing me and filled me in on what happened after the wedding. Apparently, Johnny and Tiffany had been living in her parents' basement, but got kicked out when her dad found out about the child support situation. Johnny lost his job at the call center for excessive absences, surprise, surprise, and was now working at some gas station off the highway. Then last month, I got served with papers. Johnny was suing me for the stuff I'd donated. The court date was set for next week, but yesterday I got a notice that the case was dismissed. My lawyer, worth every penny, told me Johnny didn't show up for the hearing. Some things never change. The most surreal part of all this happened 3 days ago. I was getting my mail when I noticed a woman with a teenage girl standing awkwardly by my door. It was the mother of the 12-year-old girl, Johnny's second child. She'd tracked me down through Best Bro's girlfriend, who apparently has been feeling guilty about the whole situation. We went for coffee, and she told me her side of the story. Johnny wasn't some innocent victim who signed a birth certificate out of pride. He'd known about his daughter for years but kept disappearing and reappearing in their lives. The girl, who waited in the car, wanted nothing to do with him anymore, but the mother wanted to warn me that Johnny had been telling people he was moving back in with me. I assured her that would never happen. I've changed the locks twice, installed security cameras, and moved on with my life. I've been seeing someone new for about 2 months now, a divorced dad with full custody of his son. He pays his child support on time, shows up for every school event, and actually opens his mail. The bar is literally on the floor, but it feels good to be with a responsible adult. As for Johnny and Tiffany, I heard through the grapevine that they separated last week. Apparently, he missed the birth of their baby because he was out with friends. Some people never learn. I still sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd married him. Would I be the one living in someone's basement with a newborn and a mountain of debt? Would I be making excuses for a man who refuses to take responsibility for anything? I dodged a bullet, and I'm grateful every day that I trusted my instincts. I'm finally saving for a house again. My credit score is slowly recovering from the hit it took when I had to break our lease and find a new place. And most importantly, I'm not lying awake at night wondering when the next child support notice is going to arrive. Update 4. It's been almost a year since my last update, and I can't believe how much has changed. I thought I was done with Johnny's drama, but life had other plans. 3 months ago, I received a frantic call from Tiffany. She was in tears, begging for help. Johnny had disappeared again, leaving her alone with their 6-month-old baby and a mountain of unpaid bills. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her for coffee. When I arrived at the cafe, I was shocked. Tiffany looked exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes and unwashed hair. The baby, a chubby little girl with Johnny's eyes, was fussing in her carrier. As Tiffany told me what happened, I felt a familiar mix of anger and pity. Apparently, Johnny had been fired from the gas station job for stealing from the register. He'd come home drunk one night, taken what little money they had left, and vanished. Tiffany had no idea where he was, and his phone was disconnected. I was about to offer some advice when I noticed a man watching us from across the cafe. As he approached, my heart nearly stopped. It was Johnny. He looked terrible, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, and reeking of alcohol. Before I could react, he started yelling at Tiffany, accusing her of turning me against him. The baby started wailing, and other patrons were staring. I stood up, ready to intervene, when 2 police officers walked in. Turns out, Tiffany had called them before meeting me. She'd been planning to file a missing person report, but now she was asking them to remove Johnny from the premises. As they escorted him out, he kept shouting about how we'd all betrayed him. After the chaos died down, Tiffany broke down completely. Between sobs, she revealed that she'd received notices about Johnny's other children. The state was now coming after her for the child support debt since they were married. She was drowning in debt, about to be evicted, and had no idea how to care for a baby on her own. I don't know what came over me, but I heard myself offering to let her stay at my place for a few weeks while she figured things out. Maybe it was the sleep deprivation talking, or maybe I just couldn't bear to see another person's life ruined by Johnny's selfishness. The next few weeks were interesting, to say the least. My boyfriend, Mark, was surprisingly understanding about the whole situation. He even helped Tiffany find a job at his company's daycare center, which meant she could bring the baby to work. Just when things were starting to look up, we got news that Johnny had been arrested. He'd tried to cash a forged check at a local bank. The kicker? It was made out to Johnny Appleseed. Seems he'd embraced the nickname I'd given him in my first Reddit post. As I sat in my living room, watching Tiffany feed her baby while Mark played with his son, I realized something. This mess with Johnny had brought some unexpected people into my life. People who, despite their own struggles, were trying their best to do the right thing. I'm not naive enough to think this is the end of the Johnny saga. There are still 3 other children out there who might need help someday. But for now, I'm focusing on the family we've cobbled together, me, Mark, his son, Tiffany, and baby Appleseed, as we've taken to calling her. Update 5. It's been 2 years since my last update, and I can hardly believe how much our lives have changed. I never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. Tiffany and baby Appleseed, now a precocious toddler, have become permanent fixtures in our lives. What started as a temporary arrangement turned into a beautiful, if unconventional, family unit. Mark and I got married last spring in a small ceremony, with Tiffany as my maid of honor and our blended family by our side. Just when we thought things were settling into a new normal, Johnny resurfaced. He'd been released from prison on good behavior and claimed he was a changed man. At first, I was skeptical, but something about him seemed different. He'd gotten sober in prison and joined a support group for deadbeat dads trying to make amends. To everyone's surprise, Johnny started making an effort to connect with his children. He reached out to the grandparents of his first son and asked for updates. He even started paying child support regularly, albeit in small amounts. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The real shock came when Johnny asked to meet baby Appleseed. Tiffany was hesitant, but we agreed to supervise a visit at a local park. Watching Johnny hold his daughter for the first time, tears streaming down his face, was a moment I'll never forget. He looked at her and said, "I'm so sorry, little one. I promise to do better." Of course, it hasn't all been smooth sailing. Johnny still struggles with his demons, and there have been setbacks. But he's been attending therapy and working 2 jobs to chip away at his mountain of debt. He's even started a support group for other fathers in similar situations. Last month, we had a family barbecue, all of us. Mark, his son, me, Tiffany, baby Appleseed, Johnny, and even 2 of his older children who were curious to meet their half-siblings. It was chaotic, emotional, and at times awkward, but it felt like a step in the right direction. As I watched Johnny pushing Appleseed on the swing, with Mark's son teaching her how to pump her legs, I couldn't help but reflect on the strange journey that brought us here. Life has a funny way of working out sometimes. Tiffany and I have become unlikely best friends. We often joke about how we both dodged a bullet by not ending up with Johnny long term, but we're grateful for the family we've built because of him. There are still challenges ahead. Johnny has a long way to go to fully repair the damage he's done, and trust is still a fragile thing. But seeing him genuinely try to be a better person and father has been both surprising and heartwarming. As for me, I'm learning that family comes in all shapes and sizes. Our home is full of love, laughter, and the occasional chaos that comes with raising kids. It's not the life I imagined for myself 5 years ago, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Who knows what the future holds? Johnny might relapse, or he might continue on this path of redemption. Tiffany might meet someone new, or she might decide to strike out on her own. But one thing's for certain, we'll face whatever comes next together, as the unconventional, beautiful family we've become. Life is messy, complicated, and full of surprises. Sometimes, the biggest blessings come from the most unexpected places, even from the mistakes and heartaches we thought would break us. As I look around at our mismatched family, I can't help but smile. We're all a little broken, a little scarred, but we're healing together. And really, isn't that what family is all about?